Go ahead and call this meeting of the Tyler ISD Board of Trustees to order. There's a presence of a quorum. The meeting is duly called, and the notice of the meeting has been posted in the time and manner required. I do not believe we have anybody signed up for public participation. So we'll go ahead and get on to continuous improvement student outcomes. I think we have a TTest walkthrough and evaluation update.
Yes, sir. Per the board governance monitoring calendar, we do have a report in regard to T-tests and our walkthrough evaluations. Obviously, at the end of the year, it'll be showing that we've completed 100% of our T-tests and walkthrough. And we're Executive Director of Human Resources, Sherry Taylor, is here to present that information to the board.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sorry, put this back so I can read my notes a little bit better. Good morning, President Washman, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Crawford. Thank you for allowing me to be here today as I will review our Texas Teacher Evaluation and Support System, also known as T-Test, and along with our fall walkthrough observation data as well. So T-Test strives to capture a holistic nature of teaching through three components. That's goal setting, professional development plan, evaluation cycle, and student growth measure. T-Test is a growth model for continuous improvement by fostering open and collaborative relationships between teachers and campus administrators. By doing so, we will cultivate instructional leaders at all levels. T-Test requires consistent focus on how students respond to their teachers' instructional practices, which helps gauge the effectiveness of those instructional practices. So, walkthroughs and observations provide an actionable, timely feedback, allowing teachers to make efficient and contextual professional development choices that will lead to improvement of their teaching styles. There are 4 domains in 16 dimensions. Planning domain focuses on lesson plans that contribute to a better managed classrooms and more effective and efficient learning experiences for the students. The instruction domain is the ability to model the use of new information and the teacher's expectations for students' performance. The learning environment domain, it focuses on the idea of a thoughtful, organized classroom will be more conducive to allowing students to participate in high-level learning beyond the learning objectives. And finally, professional practices and responsibilities. It addresses how teachers fulfill their roles and responsibilities, engages in ongoing review of development of their practices, as long as it adheres to the legal and ethical standards of the profession. There are 5 performance levels per dimension that clearly differentiate practices. So we want to go from the far right-hand side of a teacher-centered action classroom to the far left-hand side, which is the student-centered actions. So campus administrators are required to conduct 10 to 20-minute walkthroughs and at least one 45-minute observation per teacher. At the elementary level, our fall 2020 walkthrough data increased. It also shows that we have about 40 walkthroughs conducted per administrator. At the secondary level, there was a decline in our fall walkthrough data. This data shows an average of 36 walkthroughs per administrator. The campus administrators completed a total of 2,827 walkthroughs in the fall semester and a total of 1,702 observations. The observation process is a 3-step process. You have a pre-conference, observation, and a post-conference. So there's 3 observation tools in that observation model. We have a handful of campuses that have completed the entire observation process with their teachers. By monitoring walkthroughs, we were able to gather evidence that helps administrators and educators determine professional development needs. Coaching cycles, learning walks, and calibration walks are being utilized at each campus to help collect evidence and enhance the teacher's instructional practices. So this concludes the district's fall T-test update, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions? I do, I think. All this stuff is new. So the walkthroughs are done on the teachers by the principals, are done by the principals for evaluating the teachers, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So the campus
Do they
administrators.
evaluate each teacher every year through a walkthrough, or is it just random?
It's collaborative. So you have walkthroughs, and we ask to do about 3 walkthroughs per teacher along with the observation, which is at least one 45-minute observation per teacher.
Per teacher?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I think that's good right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else with any comments on our annual T-Test review?
No, I appreciate you. I know this is a pretty bland report, but obviously it's something that's important for T-Test. I mean, the old PDOS days that we all remember, this is what's been replaced now for the last, is it 5 years, I believe,
2016.
that we've had this? We were still PDOS when I
2016.
got here. You know, it's just one thing to measure, to make sure we're holding ourselves accountable to get those complete. Because I do think we had a little bit of a gap prior years, you know,
Yes,
prior
sir.
to 2014, where we weren't really utilizing this effectively throughout the state. Of course, Commissioner Morath and the education agency has really intertwined this T-Test into the top program that we have here, the TIA, the Teacher Incentive Allotment. This is a huge component of it, especially on the calibrations on whether or not there's validity to the walkthroughs that you're doing as it's related to student achievement, continuous improvement, and then obviously the payouts that go along with the TIA. So anyways, it's a tool, and we have to get recertified on it every year, I think. Is that correct?
So for new administrators, every year until their third year, and then
Yeah.
once they complete it at that time, then they have 3 years before they have to get recertified.
Yeah. So it's one of the things back in the day with PDOS, once you had it, you had it. But now that you've got to go, there's a continuous cycle where you have to be evaluated on it and get recertified every other 3 years, like you said. So anyways, that's what we have, and just want to make sure we're making it important, we're measuring it and
Sure.
reporting it out to the board.
Got to inspect what you expect, as they
There you
say. Okay, well, thank you, Ms. Taylor. Okay, next we have a District of Innovation certification granted report.
Yeah, in your packet, that is one thing that's part of our District of Innovation, is for us to report to the board the number of certifications that have been offered outside. Here we have 21 certifications at the elementary level, and we have 73 at the secondary level. Remember, in our District of Innovation plan, which was readopted this last fall, and first provided, I guess, 5 years ago, right, Dr. Hanson? Part of that is that we're allowed to hire teachers that do have a degree or do meet an industry need per TEA and statute in regard to being able to plug vacancies there. We certainly want all of our teachers to be certified, but at the same time, with the shortage that's going on nationally and in this state, to where we have teacher shortage of up to 15,000 teachers, we certainly appreciate the board and the community allowing us to do this. This has been a very effective strategy on behalf of the school system, and I think it's resulted in successful outcomes as well, making sure that we have certified, degreed professionals inside of our classrooms while they're working on teacher certification, as opposed to plugging these gaps with substitute teachers. I can't express enough how happy we are in regard to that. And I think it does show the adaptation of the state of Texas being allowing us to do this, because the teaching profession has not been championed by some of those leaders in our state for a long time, and the result of that is what we're seeing today, and less college graduates coming out of school with teacher certifications. So we have to be adaptive in hiring, people that are coming out of maybe second careers. So we have engineers that are now teaching math and science courses for us, maybe English and journalism majors that did not go to school for teacher ed, but have seen that maybe there's not a viable employment with an English degree. They come teach English for us. Same thing with social studies, along with other math courses as well. So there we go. That's our report here. We'll obviously open up for any questions at this time that you may have.
You got it.
Okay. Questions regarding that. I think I've looked through that District of Innovation certification papers, and I think it's a great thing. My concern is that it does put us on the same level with private schools and charter schools in the aspect of being able to hire individuals that's not certified, which I'm not I don't necessarily think that's the best thing, and you've stated that. But what are we doing to encourage those individuals that we do hire to get the certification? Is there a certain time frame that they have to get that certification, or is that they're not required to do it?
Well, first of all, we pay better than the charters and the privates.
Okay.
So whenever we are competing for individuals, that's one thing that we do have as an advantage.
Yeah.
Also, we also have a way better benefits program.
Okay.
It puts anywhere from $12,000 to $16,000 in your back pocket as compared to TRS. And I don't know what the private schools do, but I guarantee it's not what we have. So we have a very competitive package. As far as teacher certification, some of these teachers that are in here, especially in the kindergarten grades, are actually working on their certifications.
Okay.
So they're already in that process of trying to get teacher certification, whether it be I Teach Texas or a service center or maybe a higher ed. So it's not like we're going to live with an elementary teacher forever on a DOI that's not certified. A little different secondary. If you have a math teacher who can teach mathematics and just has a natural gift for it, they may stay on a DOI probationary certification forever. They don't get tenure. Chapter 21 of the Texas Education Law Code affords some tenure within contracts. And if you've taught in Tyler ISD, if you teach 2 consecutive years with us, you could be afforded a tenured contract.
Okay.
Whereas if you don't do that, by your 3rd year, if we haven't offered you that tenured contract, you could be on probation, and in the best interest of the district, you're asked to go on.
Uh-huh.
So there's some of those things. There's some tripwires in there that does still protect the district in regard to employment of anybody that's not a certified teacher.
Okay.
You cannot give a tenured contract to someone who is not certified. So that's something that we feel has been very beneficial for us. Some of these teachers that are, especially at the secondary level, has expressed interest in maybe going to get their certification. We do put them in touch with either higher ed institutions or private companies like I Teach Texas. Give me some other ones, Rojo's, or Texas teachers that actually take you through a certification program. You take additional coursework with them so that you can get your teacher certification. So absolutely, we value teacher certification and look for that first, no doubt about it.
Okay.
And we want to hire a certified teacher. That is our priority. But again, increasingly, and we're not the only school system that has to fight this. And in fact, I've talked to a lot of other superintendents who are wanting to move to this because their boards are wanting them to hire certified teachers.
Right.
They can't hire a certified teacher, and then they've got to live with a long-term sub or an inconsistent, an every other day sub. But this has been an effective strategy for us, we believe,
Okay.
as they move towards some teacher certification, if they choose to do so.
Is there a time frame for them to complete that teacher certification?
No, whenever they show up, they know that they're living year to year on probationary contract. Maybe Ron can answer that as well.
Some of them do have a timeline on completion. It just depends on their particular situation. But they're a part of an officer program, which the program that Dr. Crawford was mentioning. They do have a timeline in which to complete. And our record certification officers and HR follow up and track that throughout the year. Now, for those individuals that are working in our CPE courses that come with the industry
Right, I understand.
background,
Right.
then they are just going to be DOI.
Right.
And the thing about DOI, you always want to be on probationary certification. So if you're not doing well, then you don't stay.
Yeah, and so I guess maybe the angle I was going at was not so much the alt cert people,
Yeah.
because they do have a deadline. It's as if let's just say that you're an engineer and you don't feel like you want to go through the teacher certification process. We
Right.
don't tell them that they have to do that. If they're an effective teacher,
Right.
they live on a probationary contract, they're TTest every year, and as long as the outcomes are there and students are being successful, I mean, I don't think we've discussed making them go and get that because
Right.
I don't know if that's something that they're going to want to go do.
Right. I can
So-
understand that in
So
CTE.
I think there's kind of a different approach on both of those different types of teachers.
So in regards to the pay rate, is there a different rate for certified versus non-certified?
No,
It's not?
no, sir.
So that doesn't encourage an individual to be certified then?
We
in that
want
aspect,
to pay
that's-
for effective
Right.
adults that are degreed, whether certified or not certified, for successful student outcomes.
Okay.
I don't think you penalize somebody for that. I mean, we want people to have teacher certifications, but if we
But
get
it's
that,
not required.
what's that?
It's not required in the DOI, though.
It is not required.
Right.
But they do not have, again, contract tenure protection 3 years down the road either. There are some fringe benefits other than salary that are, I think, contract being one of them, living within Chapter 21 of the
Right.
Texas Education Code, which is pretty much collective bargaining without having Texas unions.
Okay.
And so I think if you want contract protection for long-term tenure, and not just living on that year-to-year contract, I think that is the incentive to go and get certified as a teacher if you're going to make a career of it. But there's some folks that are not wanting to go do that. So I'm willing to talk to y'all about that. If y'all want to pay non-certified teachers less, we can do that. But that's something we need advisement on.
I'm just trying to find out details in regards to it.
I know. But I'm just saying, if that's
Yeah.
something y'all would like us to
Yeah.
craft for y'all from the budget, that's something we can consider.
Right.
But right now, no, sir, we do not pay teachers versus uncertified teachers any differently. They do have degree or they have industry certifications that allow them to work without a degree inside of CTE courses. That's, I think Matt Schaefer, our local representative, is one of the ones that designed that early on about 2 legislative sessions ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where we're at. And then those are hard to find positions.
Yeah.
If you look at some of the CTE,
Oh, yeah, I believe that. I know
so saying that we're going to pay them less because they don't have a certification, I don't know if that really does allow us to be successful in finding someone to teach automotive, collision repair, and then some of the trades that we have out there as well that just don't have very many people interested in doing that as far as from a teacher point of view. It's kind of a second career.
that. Okay. Well, I understand the CTE. That's professional.
Sure.
That's their career. I'm thinking about those areas like PE, biology, core, music, criminal justice, where they have those graduates, they can't find jobs. That they come to the district, they don't have to be certified. They can be a teacher forever and not have to be certified if they don't worry about tenure. So, that was my concern in
Yeah.
regards to those areas where
Sure.
there are individuals that possibly could fill it that are certified. And is there a preference to certified versus non-certified?
There is, but
Okay.
quality is also the what we're striving for. Someone who
Okay.
does meet the criteria for us to be able to do that. Because I've known plenty of folks in any profession that have I guess a property right because they have some type of certification or experience, but they may not be the best fit.
Right.
I don't think that's what's best for our students.
Okay.
So we're always going to hire a quality individual. We'd love it if they have teacher certification, if they've chose the teaching profession as their career, but sometimes that just doesn't work out for us.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's been working.
A general question in regards to DOI, in regards to, is there a certain size of district that can apply, or can all districts apply?
It's in statute. I'm not sure what the code is in regard to that, but a few legislatures ago, districts from 10 kids all the way up to 212,000 kids. The smallest district all the way up to Houston ISD can apply for a District of Innovation certification.
Okay, great, thank you.
Dr. Crawford, could you remind us about the support that a DOI teacher would get who might be new to a classroom when they first arrive?
Absolutely. We provide a lot of professional development out of the curriculum instruction department to those that did not choose teaching as their first profession. Dr. Hanson, you want to kind of allude to some of those things?
Right, so any teacher that is first year, second year, or has a DOI, which they would fall, under those, we have specific mentors, and usually it's retired teachers, retired principals that go in, so those are our external mentors. And then every campus also has a campus mentor that also mentors those teachers for a maximum of 2 years, 3 years if necessary.
And some of those professional development exposures are, of course, I can't say that you get quality stuff in teacher ed programs, things I'm about to decide, but obviously classroom management's a big deal. But I'm not so sure higher ed can give you the exposure to classroom management until you actually start teaching in class. My educator prep programs at Baylor University did not prepare me
Right.
to be the teacher that I was going to become.
Most
And
professions.
so in saying that, it is handled at the local level. And I think that we're doing a pretty good job of that, especially if we made this initiative and kind of been a vanguard in getting out there, because there's other districts that are just now starting to come on board with understanding that instead of living with a substitute teacher in the classroom every day, we certainly would prefer to have someone that's a degreed professional that does have something on the line, some credentials on the line. They also do fall within every law and legal requirement of the state of Texas in regard to working with children and things like that as well. So they're not exempt from anything like that. I know y'all hadn't asked that question, but this is just another workaround to some of the restrictions that statute has put in place on school systems. Instead of them changing statute, they provide us opportunities to actually do a district of innovation.
And teachers help teachers.
Absolutely.
And those, and different things that
Yeah.
need help. Another teacher will definitely step up to the plate and help.
Absolutely. You probably worked with some people before you retired that might have not been fully certified. And so certainly, absolutely, pairing those either next door neighbors as a mentor is very effective. But certainly in PLCs, that's where they get a lot of coaching and a lot of additional support.
Okay. Thank you for that update. We also have a class size update coming up.
Yep, that's another thing. The District of Innovation, we don't report this to the state. We report this locally to the school board. The Commissioner of Education, actually, I was on a Zoom call with him fairly recently. He likes the fact that TEA is not inundated with these class size waivers that they used to have. But Tasha, you've put this together, or Ms. Bjork, you've put this together for the board. It looks to me, we don't have too many classrooms that are over the 22-to-1, just 9. And the total amount of students that are causing that is how many? 16 total district-wide.
I would say on all but one or two of these, that's the only one they have at that grade level. So like on bilingual, Pete and Rainey, those are the only bilingual classes they have at that grade level. Griffin has, two.
Sure.
And then on the monolingual, Pete only has one monolingual at fourth grade, Rainey has two.
Yeah. And
That's what's causing most of this, because you can't, you know, when you have only one class and one student over.
Sure.
You're not gonna hire a teacher.
Yep,
And we provide a half aid for every day.
that's correct. And as compared to 6 or 7 years ago, the numbers that we had on these things have significantly decreased. Now, this year we did staff our school system as per usual. And certainly this year is a little different because not all of our kids are with us, especially in the pre-K and K grades. So there's a little bit of impact in regard to that as well, I'm sure, along with some pandemic influencers of parents just wanting to keep their kids at home. So it's a little light this year, but it's not too much lighter than what we've been dealing with since we've made a pretty good effort the last few years to be able to handle this. And that was a big deal when I interviewed here, of making sure we're taking care of that. I mean, we were in the 50s and 60s in the number of students that were causing these issues for us. So we've really tightened up our budget processes to be able to present this to y'all.
Once again, question.
Yes, sir.
In
Go
regards
for it.
to, you said a half aid for the day, so they get an aid that shares with another teacher that have individuals, or that aid only works half a day and then go home, or?
At Pete, they have 2 aides, because they have 4 classes. 3 bilingual and 1 monolingual, so that's 2 aides that share between classrooms. And Griffin has 1, and Rainey has, for their second grade, that they share, and Rainey has 1 and a half.
Yeah, they don't go home. They're shared between other classes.
So they,
Rainey has a half that's not split half a day.
Yeah.
We found people that want to do that. We have people lined up that like to do this stuff.
Okay.
Because they work every day, they're subs,
right,
they work every day.
okay.
And the scheduling is done as such, Mr. Newsom, that it's done during their content area, the core content times of the day. In other words, not during specials, not during lunch, not during recess, but when the instruction is occurring, that's
Right.
when that individual should be assigned to that
Right,
classroom.
okay, all right, understand. Okay.
Okay, yes, we have come a long way. I remember before you got here, seeing some of these waivers that we'd have to get from the state, and it was way on up there. It has really come down. So, kudos to you and your staff. on that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Tasha's done a good job of this, but I remember late night meetings my first year here and trying to figure this puzzle out. It was the darndest thing I've ever seen. But anyways, it was pretty good numbers. Again, it's not just so many kids, and there's so much mobility in some of our campuses to where you may have Pete might have a first grade need right now the day we report to y'all, and then 2 days from now they may not have that same student. I mean, a couple maybe have moved or something, or gone to another campus, and so we've done this. I think being able to shift, especially early on when we do have a lot of kids, we kind of wait until we level classes before we try to move any teachers around. And that's one thing we weren't doing, I don't believe. We were pretty much holding steady at a campus and wouldn't do a whole lot of leveling once we, around Labor Day. And we just made up our mind that we're going to do that. So, and then a lot of campuses, some campuses say, don't give me another teacher. They want to live with the high numbers because they don't want to have to go and tell parents, your kid's now being shifted over into this new classroom after they've already lived with they've gone through meet the teacher night, they've gone through some of these other things. And so we kind of say, okay, but you need to do a good job of communicating to your parents about why you have a couple, 24 in your class as opposed to 22. Isn't that right, Tasha, that we pretty much say that you need to handle that?
A lot of times, they have a really strong teacher that can handle it, and they don't want to bring in a new teacher that might.
Yeah, if you're not hired, by late July or early August, and you're hiring into September, what is the availability of a quality teacher at that time? That's what our principals have pretty much told us as well. So,
Okay. Just a question. You mentioned that they have strong teachers. What do you mean by strong teachers?
Well, what I'm saying is they feel like their teacher that they have can handle 23 kids versus 22.
Okay, do we look at anything objective? They can handle them academically or manners and conduct. Are we looking at the comparison of the two? Okay, I just.
yeah, the principals are the boots on the ground that can make that decision right there.
The principal knows their school.
Okay, well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we let them.
Okay. Thank you for that. We have some action items dealing with elections that we have coming up. Mr. Burkeveld and Martinez and Ms. Atkins all have elections coming up in May. So we're going to take them one at a time. The first one is to consider approval of an order calling for the general election for school board trustees for single member districts 5 and 7. So do I have a motion on item A?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, and motion carries. And B has to do with the unexpired term for District 3 there. So do I have a motion on item B? Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, and motion carries. And then we have our interlocal agreement between Smith County and City of Tyler, TISD, and White House Independent School District for conducting those elections. Do I have a motion on item C?
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The ayes have it. So now we have some elections coming up. Good luck to everybody. Make sure if you hadn't done it, get your paperwork in. We will now go into executive session.